Sinaloa, Mexico. In the dark mountains of Sinaloa, where shadows conceal secrets, there is a man whose escape has become legend.
For the third time, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán has escaped from a Mexican prison.
This morning, a massive international manhunt for one of the world's most powerful and deadly drug trafficking kingpins is underway. Joaquín Guzmán, known as El Chapo, and a major supplier of heroin, cocaine, and marijuana in the United States.
Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, the leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, escaped from prison on 2 occasions, was involved in violent confrontations, deployed sophisticated tunnels, and challenged powerful law enforcement agencies. Now,
a combined force of agencies,
DEA, Mexican Marines, Global Intelligence is about to close in. But in a manhunt where every move is anticipated and every clue could be a trap, the question remains: who is really pulling the strings? This is the story of the hunt for the man who never wanted to be caught. Our story begins in La Tuna, a small mountain village in Sinaloa. Joaquín Arquivaldo Guzmán Loera was born in 1957 to a poor farming family. Boys here don't grow up wishing to be football players, professors, or doctors. They want to become drug traffickers because it was the fastest way to earn money, and money is a way out. Life here was simple and hard. His father grew up in puppies. He was abusive. Money was scarce at that time. El Chapo dropped out of school early, and instead of studying, he preferred to spend his time working on marijuana and poppy fields. By age 15, El Chapo was already in the drug trade, not out of ambition, but survival. He became a driver for local drug lords, quickly learning the ropes of an industry built on secrecy, fear, and profit. Determined to rise from the ranks of the Mexican organized crime, he initially made his mark as the go-to fixer. When drug shipments were delayed or lost, anytime a truckload failed to arrive, El Chapo eliminated the courier responsible. His brutal resolve earned him credibility, and soon he became one of the most trusted lieutenants of Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, the head of the Guadalajara cartel. When Gallardo was arrested in 1989, the empire splintered, and El Chapo saw a big opportunity to take control. He founded the Sinaloa Cartel. Unlike others, he was determined to take the business to another level. He embraced modern logistics. He built hidden airstrips, narco tunnels, submarines. He smuggled cocaine, meth, heroin, and marijuana into the US at unprecedented levels. He made billions, and with money came violent confrontations. Thousands were eliminated in cartel wars. Journalists, politicians, civilians. El Chapo didn't hesitate. But in those early years, one incident really puts El Chapo on the map. He is Juan Jesus Posadas, the Archbishop of Guadalajara, a revered cardinal and one of the most influential voices in Mexico, known for his unwavering compassion toward the poor and his bold denunciations of the drug trade and corruption. He demands justice and pays the price for it. This afternoon, he's traveling to the airport to greet a Vatican envoy, a spiritual mission. Meanwhile, at the same time, El Chapo Guzmán and his men roll into the same parking lot, ready to board a private flight to Puerto Vallarta, a seaside heaven where he often indulges in lavish parties.
Find everyone from bachelorette.
What unfolds next remains cloaked in ambiguity. We can only be certain of one tragic fact: the cardinal will not leave this encounter alive. They're rival brothers, running a Tijuana-based trafficking empire, locked in a bitter turf war with El Chapo and his Sinaloa network. Word reaches them that Guzmán himself will be at the Guadalajara airport. Seizing the opportunity, one of the brothers and a team of hired guns race there, determined to ambush him before he boards the flight. When El Chapo and his bodyguards arrive in the lot, the hit squad jumps out, weapons blazing, bullets shred the air. El Chapo's crew dashes toward the terminal, ducking behind parked cars. Miraculously, amid a hail of fire, none are struck. They vanish into the airport in a blur. But the operation turns deadly wrong. 7 lives are extinguished, including that of the cardinal. The attempt to strike El Chapo ends in tragedy. The prelate, paying the ultimate price, his life snuffed out in a violent misunderstanding. According to the official narrative, Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo was simply caught in a crossfire, believed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Authorities have maintained that rival cartels collided at the airport and his vehicle was mistakenly hit amid the gun battle. Yet, serious doubts persist. Forensic experts disagreed strongly with that account. Dr. Mario Rivas Souza, the Jalisco coroner, confirmed that the cardinal was struck by 14 close-range gunshots, and powder residue on his chin indicates execution style, firing from just a few feet away. His driver was also shot multiple times in similarly close proximity. Authorities later proposed that the assassins might have confused his vehicle, a white full-size sedan, for one commonly used by rival drug figure, El Chapo, implying a case of mistaken identity. But critics point out that Posadas was wearing distinct clerical clothing, and they argue that such confusion is implausible, especially given the lethal precision of the shooting. Further complicating the picture, Cardinal Posadas' autopsy was reportedly delayed or blocked by high-ranking officials, raising alarms about investigative interference. Some believe that elements within the government might have orchestrated his death to prevent him from exposing sensitive ties between criminal organizations and political power. In sum, while the public record insists it was a tragic accident in the fray of cartel violence, the forensic evidence and ongoing skepticism suggest something far darker. A deliberate, planned killing hidden behind the official story. Years later, the successor of Posadas will make a serious accusation. He claims the murder of the cardinal was a crime of the state.
Se trató de un crimen de Estado, perpetrado por la Policía Judicial Federal, es decir, por la Policía de la PGR.
Officially, the slain cardinal believed that the Mexican security forces carried out the assassination at the behest of government, not by accident. Posadas had openly accused high-ranking officials of colluding with cartel networks, raising alarms about what he might reveal. Even now, nearly 3 decades later, his death remains shrouded in uncertainty. What truly happened at Guadalajara Airport in 1993? In February 2014, El Chapo is captured and brought to Altiplano Maximum Security Prison. 2 months later, El Chapo established clandestine communication with the outside world through handwritten notes and phone calls, delivered by his lawyer and trusted messengers. He reached his wife Gemma Coronel Aispuro, his sons Ivan, Alfredo, Ovidio, and Joaquín Jr., and his close partner Damaso Lopez Núñez. In 2014, meetings occurred within Sinaloa, where Guzmán expressed his intent to break out again and asked for assistance. He requested purchase of weapons and an armored vehicle, securing a plot of land near the prison, construction of a tunnel under this prison cell, using GPS coordinates to map the escape routes precisely. Each one had an important role in the escape. Gemma Coronel acted as a messenger, relaying instructions from Guzmán to his team outside. His son were involved in organizing logistics, locating the land, overseeing GPS mapping, and approving plans. Damaso Lopez agreed to assist, coordinating purchases and land selection. Lopez later testified that Guzmán could hear excavation noises beneath his cell for months before the escape, indicating careful coordination and tunnel progress. After the 1993 shootout at Guadalajara Airport, the Mexican government announced a bounty on Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, declaring him a top fugitive. In less than 2 weeks, he was captured in Guatemala and extradited back to Mexico, where he claimed innocence in the cardinal's death, insisting he was never the target of assassination. Authorities accepted this version, charging him only with drug trafficking and organized crime, not homicide. He was handed down a 20-year prison sentence, but that did nothing to deter his influence. Behind the walls of Puente Grande and later Altiplano, El Chapo continued to command the Sinaloa Cartel, using lawyers and loyal intermediaries. Distance never diminished his reach. Orders whispered through his legal team orchestrated his empire's moves from behind bars. From inside his cell, he manipulated every piece on his chessboard. Shipments, alliances, and power plays, all executed under his watchful direction. Even incarcerated, he remained the invisible architect of a vast criminal enterprise, proving you don't need presence to pull the strings. By 2001, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán had grown deeply unsettled by the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. The Mexican Supreme Court had just approved a law making it easier to extradite figures like him to the US, a prospect he feared. It was now or never. According to the official account, Guzmán bribed the trusted prison guard, Francisco Camberos Rivera, aka El Chito, who unlocked his cell at Puente Grande maximum security facility. El Chapo climbed into a laundry cart and was pushed through inner hallways. After passing through an unguarded gate, he leapt into the trunk of a waiting car. The guard drove to the outer gate, no search of the trunk occurred, and El Chapo vanished into the night. Alternative theory. Skeptics believe the laundry cart story is too convenient, even laughable. Critics note that sensors for heat and motion were installed at checkpoints and gates. Hiding in a cart should have triggered alarms. Leading journalists, including Hannibal Hernandez, argued the truth is much simpler. Guzmán walked out disguised as an officer, escorted by corrupt officials in uniform. This theory aligns with widespread belief. In 2015, 77% of Mexicans surveyed suspected government complicity in his escape. Whether rolled out or walked out the front gate, the escape story boils down to one thing: systemic corruption. From guards to prison directors, officials at every level were allegedly on the payroll, ensuring the kingpin walked free. Even the prison warden was eventually blamed for involvement. Back at the helm in Sinaloa, once free, Guzmán didn't pause. Within days, he rejoined Sinaloa Cartel meetings, notably with longtime ally Ismael El Mayo, who pledged full support. Their strategy was clear: rebuild the drug empire stronger than ever. February 2002, Ramón Arellano Felix, the Tijuana cartel boss, and one of the brothers linked to the airport shooting, was killed in a firefight with Mexican federal police during what officials say began as a routine traffic stop in Mazatlan. He reportedly pulled a gun when stopped and was shot by officers trying to detain him. March 2003. Within a year, the Gulf Cartel's leader, Osiel Cardenas Guillen, was arrested in Matamoros after a violent battle with Mexican Marines. Once captured, he was held in Mexico before being extradited to the US in 2007 to face charges. With two powerful crime networks suddenly leaderless, a major realignment of cartel influence was underway. Seizing the moment, El Chapo and the Sinaloa Cartel rapidly moved into territories formerly controlled by both the Tijuana and Gulf organizations. Their advance sparked brutal turf wars, especially across Nuevo Laredo, a strategic border city beset by kidnappings and hundreds of killings, transforming it into frontline territory in the escalating cartel conflict. At least one core operative in Sinaloa's leadership was Manuel Alejandro Aponte, better known as El Bravo, a former Mexican army soldier turned chief of security for Guzmán. His elite training demonstrates the wider pattern. Hundreds of ex-military and federal officers were recruited into cartel ranks, often deserting the army and providing tactical expertise to the kingpins. By late 2003 to 2005, clashes in Nuevo Laredo alone had already left over 1,000 deaths, including many civilians, only the opening salvo in what would become a nationwide war. December 2006, newly elected President Felipe Calderón declared an all-out war on organized crime, deploying 5,000 troops to Michoacán just 10 days after taking office, and escalating to over 20,000 soldiers and federal police within 2 months. From 2007 to 2014, over 164,000 murders were officially recorded, many linked to organized crime violence. Annual homicides spiked to nearly 27,000 by 2011 alone. In these years of bloodshed, El Chapo rises. He becomes the world's most wanted criminal, transforming the Sinaloa Cartel into one of the most powerful criminal organizations in history. He becomes the top supplier of drugs to the United States: cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine. Operating in 50 countries, it generates billions of dollars in profits each year. Over the years, El Chapo quietly amassed immense wealth, so much that Forbes once ranked him among the world's billionaires, estimating his fortune at around $1 billion between 2009 and 2012. With all that money, keeping him locked up is almost impossible. In an audacious breakout plot, El Chapo's rescuers first slipped the GPS timepiece into his Altiplano prison cell, ingeniously camouflaged among food parcels, so the tunnel engineers would know exactly where to begin digging. Over the next year, they carved out a half-kilometer subterranean corridor, nearly 1.70 meters tall and reinforced throughout with wood beams. The tunnel featured electric lighting and fresh air ventilation, and even included a steel sleeve track carrying a motorcycle-powered cart to all excavated soil. It's estimated the entire operation cost around US $5 million in materials, bribes, and stealth infrastructure. This underground passage doubled as their escape vehicle, delivering El Chapo to freedom on the night of July 11, 2015. But the question is, how did El Chapo end up in Altiplano? Henry Hogan, a DEA agent, knew just how dangerous El Chapo was. When he first took over the Sinaloa desk, there was no task force, no team, just him, pursuing the world's most powerful drug trafficker. So Hogan learned Spanish and moved with his family to Mexico City to get closer to the case. In early 2012, a fellow agent in the US managed to obtain El Chapo's BlackBerry pin from someone inside his inner circle. They tracked his phone signal to Cabo San Lucas. When the colleague called Hogan, the excitement was real. They had a lead. DEA agents and their Mexican counterparts raced to the area, but Chapo was gone. A day later, the signal narrowed to one of 3 luxury properties near the resort. This time, they struck, but he slipped out the back, reached a private airstrip without being seen, and flew to safety. El Chapo's ability to move phones and SIMs constantly meant he stayed a step ahead. One DEA agent reportedly joked they couldn't catch him if he was standing in front of the Starbucks across from the embassy. Despite early failures, Hogan didn't quit. In May 2013, he and his family settled in Mexico City. He officially took charge of the Sinaloa case and began building a team. Gradually, they intercepted cartel members and peeled back layers of their communication structure. They learned how often El Chapo's men changed phones and numbers, used code names, and shared GPS locations. Every change revealed more of the pattern. Piece by piece, a hidden network began to emerge. 2014, El Chapo arranged a meeting and sent one of his trusted drivers to pick up a contact. DEA agent Henry Hogan tracked the driver's phone as it moved to a neighborhood in Culiacan. The signal pointed to a cluster of 5 houses, suspected safe houses. Hogan organized a mission with Mexican Marines, helicopters and transport trucks, and personally joined the raid. When they stormed the compound, the houses were empty, but in one house, they discovered a bathtub that lifted to hide a hidden stairway. The staircase dropped down into a well-built tunnel leading into the city's sewer system. El Chapo had slipped away just minutes before. The Marines were left with the tunnel entrance as evidence of escape. 3 days after the tunnel raid, intelligence traced a new phone to Mazatlán, a coastal resort city. Investigators narrowed the signal to one of 3 beachfront mansions. DEA and Mexican officials moved quickly and located El Chapo inside one of those buildings. But before they could swoop in, he slipped out the back door, boarded a private plane, and vanished again. On February 22, 2014, at exactly 6:40 a.m., intelligence led Mexican Marines to the Miramar Hotel in downtown Mazatlan. Apartment room 401 was stormed by elite Marines backed by DEA agents and U.S. Marshals. Inside, El Chapo was found with his wife and twin daughters. El Chapo surrendered peacefully, taken into custody within minutes, and flown to a high-security prison in Altiplano under tight security. The U.S. soon demanded his extradition, move that would effectively bring an end to his criminal reign. With the primary mission complete and worries for his family's safety in Mexico, Henry Hogan returned to U.S. with his family. El Chapo's allies discovered the precise location of his prison cell shower. They built a vertical shaft about 10 meters deep, directly above it, complete with ladder access down to the tunnel. This allowed them to drop directly into his cell from below. Drilling and digging in a life prison is noisy. Some inmates heard strange sounds and complained, but guards ignored them. Thanks to the inside corruption and careful planning, no one stopped the operation. The team finished the tunnel all the way into his cell without being detected. On the night of July 11, 2015, El Chapo was sitting on his bed. Camera coverage and audio picked up loud banging, probably the tunnel workers above. He paced, then walked over to the shower. In the dim light, he stepped behind the shower wall and slid through a small 50 x 50 centimeters hole in the floor. Once inside the tunnel, he was met by one of his trusted aides, likely a brother-in-law. They hopped onto the motorcycle cart and rode to the tunnel end. The motorbike helped move them quickly and quietly. They climbed out through the exit shaft into an unfinished house, piled with construction debris. An ATV was waiting outside. El Chapo and his aide jumped on, traveled a short distance to a nearby warehouse, switched into an SUV and drove for about 2 hours. They reached a private airstrip, boarded a waiting plane, and flew off to Sinaloa, free once more. About 2 months after El Chapo's second prison escape, one of his sons posted a cryptic tweet. "I'm doing fine here. You already know with whom." The tweet included a photo appearing to show him with his father and was tagged from Costa Rica. However, authorities believe the location likely referred to a small town in Sinaloa, not the Central American country. Something about the tunnel break made people uneasy. Guards on video watched El Chapo vanish, but they waited a full 20 minutes before checking the cell and even longer before inspecting the hole in the floor. Despite inmates complaining about loud drilling noises, no intervention happened. Many in Mexico suspected his escape was headed from the inside. Soon after the escape, 2 prison officials were removed. The prison warden and 2 other administrators were fired. Then 4 prison workers were officially charged. 2 were Secret Service agents stationed at the prison. 2 others monitored the control room screens. Prosecutors accused them of deliberately delaying the alarm, giving El Chapo crucial extra minutes to vanish. With officials embarrassed and the spotlight back on him, El Chapo became one of the most wanted fugitives in the world. The hunt intensified like never before. While still on the run, El Chapo pulled off an audacious move. He aimed to immortalize his story on screens by making a movie about his life. Mexican actress Kate del Castillo, who had publicly expressed admiration for him back in 2012, helped make contact. Through her, Sean Penn became involved, and the three agreed to meet in secret while he was still evading capture. The clandestine meeting between Penn, Del Castillo, and El Chapo was later published by Rolling Stone. In the story, Penn described how engineers behind El Chapo's tunnel escape had been sent to Germany for months of specialized training to address flooding and water table in the prison. Del Castillo later claimed she was used as bait, frustrated by Penn's approach and worried for her safety. Despite Penn's denial, Mexican authorities say the meeting was a critical element in his recapture. They tracked El Chapo's connection to the actors and producers involved. Government sources revealed they had been surveilling Penn and Del Castillo's movements during the meeting. The meeting set off a chain reaction. In early January 2016, a Mexican special operation, Operation Black Swan, located him in Los Mochis. After a violent gunfight with Marines,
He tried to flee through tunnels and was captured near a motel. This time, they finally got him. Months later, he was extradited to US, marking the end of his reign. On July 17, 2019, he was sentenced to life in Colorado's Supermax prison, where he remains locked up till this day.